Hey, welcome back. Today we're going to be dealing with perspective sketches. Some of the things I want to point out to you here with perspective drawings is it's going to offer the most realistic three-dimensional view of all the pictorial methods. There are three types of perspective drawings. Those three are a one point, which imagine setting up a point up here where all these lines were going to, all of our depth lines were going towards. The other is a 2 point. All right, a 2 point means you're going to have a 2 point means now not only your depth lines, but also your width lines are also now going to go towards that 1 point perspective. So we have both our depth and our width. In a 3 point perspective, all of our depth lines are going to go to a point. All of our width lines are going to go to a single point. And all of our height lines are also going to go to a single point. And that's what you're seeing here. These are 3 point perspectives. Okay, for 1 point perspective, you're going to sketch a horizontal line across the upper portion of the paper to represent the horizon and identify a vanishing point. So as long as you draw a horizon and a vanishing point anywhere on that horizon, you can't mess up. Okay, it says sketch the front face of the box. Once again, we're back to that old box method. All right, as I see this, it's 2 boxes tall, so I'm going to say every 2 boxes here equals 1 box here. It's 3 across, or I should make it 6 wide. So there's 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's the front face of the box. All right, overall. Now from my points, I'm going to have to show the depth. All right, so all these depth lines are going to be the ones that go back to the point. So of my overall box, I'm going to draw lines going back to my vanishing point, showing the depth. Now, step 4 is I'm going to have to estimate the depth of the object. You don't have to be perfect. I doubt anybody will be perfect with estimating, but as long as you show the depth to a certain extent, there's your depth. All right, that's all there really is to it there. Now, these are all my construction lines. I'm choosing to use my blue as my construction line. Okay, now I'm going to start to identify the outside faces. If I think about what faces are going to touch the outside of the box, well, that one is, and that one is. So I'm going to draw those on here. This is a third of the way over, so if I come over here a third, 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, a third of the way over, my depth line now, if I go from the vanishing point, I'm going to go the other way with this and draw this out, and that's going to tell me basically where that line right there is. This goes up halfway because it's 2 boxes, and I'm going to draw a little line there halfway up, and I'm going to take my vanishing back from the vanishing point and bring it out. Again, this goes up halfway because it's 2 boxes, so it's halfway over. But that is not a depth line, so I'm not going to draw it back to the vanishing point. I'm going to draw it straight up. The only lines that go to the vanishing point, all right, are depth lines. Same thing over here. I'm going to draw my box, all right. And then this is halfway here, all right. It's half of my top, but it's not a depth line, so I'm not going to draw it to the depth. So there I've got these outer 3 faces. Probably a different color than blue would have been a good one here, but that's the color I'm using. So this is really what we have here. All right, use object lines to trace over the edges of the object on the visible surface of the box. So now we've gone through here and we've traced in the object lines, the outer faces. Those are ones we want to keep. Now we're going to use construction lines from these points. So I'm going to kind of draw these in here. I'm going to go to this front face of the front part of the box, and from this corner now I'm going to start to draw depth lines in. You don't have to draw them all the way back. All right, I'm just going to draw them when I know I get out of the box. All right, once I'm past the box, I can stop. All right, I'm here. There, I'm past the box. The box ends right there, so I can stop. Now I'm going to go to my top, draw my depth lines in. Those aren't really important now that I think about it, which is okay. Sometimes we make mistakes. So I've got my depth lines in there. Now, those are the only lines that are going to go back to the vanishing point. Everything else is a horizontal, is a width line or a height line. So, here I've got a height line. It goes from here. How do I know where to go? Bring it down. I bring it down from this point, bring it straight down. From this point, bring it straight down. From this point, bring it straight down. Now I go over here to the right and I find my points and I bring them straight across. How do I know how many points to bring across? Well, I see 3. The fourth one would be behind the figure, so I don't have to bring that one over. I'm going to bring it over here until it intersects. The last step then is going to be to come back with my object lines again now. The object lines are the ones I want to keep. So that's that one, there, there, and there then is our 1-point perspective. It's going to take some time, but it's not the hardest thing in the world to do. Okay, the 2-point perspective is the most common perspective drawing. Now I'm going to have both my depth lines and my width lines. So width lines and depth lines are going to be going back to the vanishing points. Height lines are still going to be straight up and down. Lo and behold, we start exactly the same way. We draw on a horizon line, and we pick 2 vanishing points, though, for a 2-point perspective. I would put them pretty close to the outer edges of your paper. It's going to make it easier for you. Now, the next thing is to construct a vertical line. Students, so what kind of vertical line? Doesn't matter. Just put a vertical line there. Don't think about it. Just do it. All right? Don't think about it. Just do it. Now, the next step is we've got to find these points that they've identified here. Well, how are we going to go about finding these points? Well, I'm going to say to myself, how tall? This is my height line. So how tall is it here? Well, it's 1, 2 boxes up. So proportionately, they're demonstrating this to each box is 3 boxes tall. So there's 1 box, there's the other box. So there's the height, the overall height of the overall box that we have here. Well, our next step then is going to be, we're going to be taking lines and going, we've got our depth lines are going to go to the left. So this line here is going to go to the left, that depth line, and then our width lines are going to go that way. And that's what you're going to see here. Well, the next thing then is we're going to come in here and kind of estimate the overall length of it. I'm going to look at this and say that this needs to be, I don't know, this looks to be a little bit longer than it is tall. So I'm going to go over here and estimate that right there. And then this isn't going to be quite as wide. This depth isn't quite as much as my width. So I'm going to estimate it to be right about there. And you see that the lines that they made are pretty similar to the ones that I made. All right. Well, what do you think our next step is? We're going to take these lines, and now I've got to draw in my depth. From here, I've got to go to my vanishing point to show my width, and from here, I've got to go to my vanishing point to show depth. All right. Well, if you notice, we've now got the box, which they've created. Last time, then, what did we start doing? We started putting in these faces. Well, I'm going to go halfway up on both of these because this goes up halfway. It's 2 boxes tall. This is only 1 box. So that's going to be here. And notice that this should be going back to the vanishing point. Likewise, then, I have a point here. I can take this back this way to the vanishing point. And that gives me this is that face. And now I've got those 2 right there, which are going to touch the outer part of the box. So I'm going to say it's there and there. Well, where would these lines go? These points right here, this is a depth line. So that depth line is going to go where? Back to the vanishing point. Back to the vanishing point. On top, I've got this. So I've done these 2 faces now. Those are touching the outer part of the box. Now I've got this one up here. Well, this is smack dab right here in the middle. So there's a third, I'm going to say these lines have to go back to the vanishing point. There's my top. Well, the next step then is to object those in. All right, people. Now we start drawing in the rest of them. That's this one. That is this one. This over here is from that point. This is here, and that right there is a width line, which I never did draw, but that would be going back to the vanishing point. That right there would be continuing to the vanishing point. Right here is there. So it's going to go up. Why don't I put it at an angle? Because it doesn't go towards, it's not a depth or a width line. It is a height line. I made one mistake. This right here should be going only half, because this only goes halfway across. Let's see if I can't clean this up here a little bit. And then that right there would be going back as well. That's another depth line be going back here to the vanishing point. Well, hey, that's 2 points perspective. This video's been plenty long right here. We'll get some practice at it. Some of you will be great at it, and some of you won't. The main thing, though, is that you know how to identify a 1 point, and a 2 point, and a 3 point perspective. I'll catch you guys on the flip side.